There we go. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Share Success Coaching Call today. Today's Wednesday, June 14th, 2023. I'm so looking forward to being here with all of you. Natalie and Andy send their love and their regards and their wishes and their happiness and their vibrancy as they're up traveling on the presidential diamond trip right now in Europe and sending so much love. But hello, my friends. It's so nice to see you guys here. I'm your friend and co-pilot Tiff Peterson, joining us today and sharing with you. I'm looking forward to the space we'll share together, of helping you with whether a combination of your mindset, your content, your creation, your business, your team, your strategies, you name it, whatever is up for you. But hello and good morning. As you're joining in with us live here on Facebook or in the Zoom group, I invite you to say hello in the chat box. I'd also love to know what part of the world you're in. I know I see Kathy from Arizona is here, Jeannie from Wisconsin. Hi, Jeff from New Mexico. Hi, Amelia. Good morning, Stephanie. Hi, Ruth from Provo, Utah. Good to see you, Ruth. Hi, Jennifer. Hi, Lara. Nice to have you guys here. But as we drop in here this morning, first thing, I just invite you to take a moment and anchor into your gratitude practice. I was out in my own backyard, my patio right now, this time of year from about mid-May, depends on the weather, mid-May till, into usually about mid-October. This depends, again, weather. I love to start my morning ritual out on my back patio and just kind of wake up with the world. And it's like right now, all kinds of luscious flowers and it's vibrant and green and the hummingbirds and all kinds of birds and the squirrels, right? Like this whole experience out there. And I just love the earth, but it's a great space where for me, I like to read from a daily devotional book and sometimes into, for me personally, scripture and then other books, but I like to do a little gratitude journaling first thing in the morning, or even just breathing in, like closing my eyes, hearing the sounds and pondering upon things I'm grateful for, as well as what I'd call visiting my vision. So, okay, so you're telling me you can hear me, but you can see me, but can't hear me. Is that right? Can all of you hear me? Or was I just sharing all of that can you guys hear me? Okay, Ruth says she can hear me, hearing me fine. Okay, thanks for that feedback. Okay, all right, Emma, I'm not sure what's going on your end, but yes, it sounds like we're good to go. Yes. Okay.
You're all good.
Oh, all right. Oh, it's Andy saying he can see me, but can't hear me. I think his internet's a little slow. He was going to drop in, but he says, send you guys all so much love. So that's Andy in the chat box saying, I can't hear you, but he must not have a solid connection. But anyway, back to this time in the way that I start my day, right? And whether you start your day or end your day or both, gratitude is one of those powerful elixirs, right? Or I like to say gratitude is a powerful alchemist. And when you create alchemy, right, you create transformation. It's like that refining, that transition or transformational process is really bringing that kind of mindset. Now, here's the thing about gratitude. We've talked about this before, so this isn't necessarily new, but a lot of times we don't always feel grateful, right? We have various circumstances. Sometimes we feel grateful. We feel the emotion of gratitude, but I invite gratitude to be more of a habit and a practice into your life. So I just invite you guys as returning, if it's been a minute since you've been in your gratitude journal, or it's been a minute since you've really dropped into some deeper prayer, meditation, pondering, speaking it, singing it, praising it, praying it, is like dropping into the practice of gratitude. It is so good. Is remind yourself, what I focus on expands. Would you write that for me in your notes? What I focus on expands, gets bigger. It's an expansion. And so it's just choosing to drop into that. And then the second piece of that, what I was doing this morning, and invite you to do the same too. I put this on my Instagram stories about the power of visiting your vision. Is without vision in front of us, loves, it's really easy just to repeat what's familiar. Sometimes we call that a comfort zone. But as my friend Henry Amar last week in my Glow series, he did a guest session on fear to freedom. He's an amazing emotional resilience coach and helping people work through emotions and breakthrough and so forth. And he talks more about it's your safety zone or familiar zone, right? Is that we often create what's familiar. And so without vision in front of us, without that to lead us. And whether you want to quote the Holy Bible, where it's quoted as without vision, the people perish, to Tony Robbins, to Jack Canfield, to Jim Rohn, to Gabby Bernstein, to Marie Forleo, or whoever you love to follow or be nourished from, the power of vision will always come up. And so if it's been a minute, visit your vision, right? And that might be writing it, like behind me here in my home office, for those of you on video that can see this. I know many of you might be listening back to this as a podcast and audio, but right behind me in my own home office is my own vision board. And it's a compilation of images and words. And some of those images I found on Pinterest and sent to my phone and then printed at Walgreens or Costco Photo Center. Or some of them are clippings from a magazine, or some of them are images or photos of me actually doing the thing that I want to continue to create or experience that I've then printed off and put on my vision board. But the power of that is it reminds me who I choose to be, what I choose to create, what I'm moving towards, what I'm wanting to experience more of. But to do that in your mind, right, as well as maybe have tools like a vision board or doing a vision practice. My good friend Moira Kusaba, she's a top performer, a 7-figure performer in another direct sales company called Beachbody. She's built an amazing community. And in that process, she started creating visioning work. She was on my podcast last week and really not talking about her business, but talking about, she has a book called Rise Up, Book of Proof. You can also find it on Amazon, but it's a great vision book. And how she talked about one day, she just kind of scribbled down on a piece of paper years ago, some of the vision of what she wanted in her life and what that would look like and feel like. And she tore this little piece of scrap of paper and put it in the book she was reading as like a bookmark at the moment. And the next morning for her, when she got up and went downstairs to get for her situation, her morning coffee, and got out her book and opened it up to start reading, she saw this piece of paper that she'd forgotten about. And then she read it and reread it, and it inspired her. It brought her back to possibility and what she wanted to be about, what she wanted to create. So she read for the day and then continued to use this bookmark. And then as she had this process, now she's created this little mini journaling book. I just wrote in mine this morning. And it's a powerful process of visiting your vision. And so again, whether you use a book like that, a visioning book, or a scrap of paper, or a vision board, or you mentally drop in and see, it's like, where are you going? Who do you choose to be? What are the habits you're embodying or practicing? What are the outcomes, the lives you're touching, the contribution, what you're experiencing is the power of visiting that vision. My loves, we're almost to the middle point of 2023. Can you believe that? Yeah. So when you drop in and think about that, we're in a good time frame if it's been a minute for you to drop in and think about what you want to create the next 3 to 6 months. Now, several of you, I know not all of you, but several of you participated. I did a free self-care series last week called Glow Up, and it focused on body, mind, heart, spirit, different ways we support the body, different ways we support our emotions, our heart, our mind. My dear friend and business leader here in doTERRA, Ashley Miller, joined me on Saturday for a great conversation on emotions and essential oils. We talked all about Natalie and Andy's book that got tucked in and their training of being an essential emotions coach. We talked about my Glow Blend. We talked about presence and so forth. That was one of 7 sessions that we did. And in that practicing, one of the things that we did is that we gave everyone a couple of worksheets, and one of them was a summer joy list and thinking about the next 60 to 90 days of an intentional joy list. But then I also tucked in there too is the power of, again, looking at and setting your goals for the next 90 days, 90 days to 6 months. So as we're coming up to that middle point, it's a good time for you to check in, a good time for you guys to evaluate, ponder, think about, and get really clear for the next 3 to 6 months, what you want to create in this season, what you want to create the rest of the year. Where are you going, right? That's a great vision question. Where am I going in my marriage, in my home, in my health, in my business, the habits? What are my wins and victories for the first part of the year, right? Like honor that, celebrate your wins and victories, as well as looking at, what do I want to experience more of? What do I want to create? So it's just a good time to check into that. Yeah, Jennifer says, I need to revisit my vision board. Anyone else? Anyone else need to freshen up their vision board? I know I need to as well. I actually have I've printed off new photos. They're right here. And look at that handsome man, that sweetheart of mine. But various things for my vision board and things like that. Some just fresh things that I'm going to be adding to my vision board. And so I need to update my vision board, right? That's a self-care image and some things that we're creating and travel and so forth, courses and homes, stuff like that. Is my own vision board behind you. I love it. And it needs a fresh uptake. So if anyone else, we want to do that together, maybe this week as a collective, if that speaks to you, you want to say yes in the chat box or yes in comments on Facebook. Or if you're listening back to this podcast, you want to say yes out loud to yourself. If your vision board, you don't have a vision board or it's out of date, right? Like mine needs some freshening up. That's the right way to say that, revisiting it, freshening it up. But what if we commit to do that together in the next week or two? By the end of June, though, shall we say, right? We're going to start July 1st with a fresh vision board and our vision practices coming into a greater alignment. I want to commit to that with you, right? Like I've printed them. I've done some things. I was in an Ideal Life Vision workshop a week ago, last Saturday. A week from last Saturday. So about 10 days ago, my dear friend Ann Webb teaches and kind of in essence came out of retirement. She has lots of coaches trained in her process, but a process called Ideal Life Vision. And that is such a rich experience. So I've been visiting and nourishing my own vision lately. I just need to transfer it to my vision board and update it and have it be fresh and in a space that really inspires me. Yeah, Karina says, wait, I thought she didn't do that anymore. She basically retired that 4 years ago, but she's now come back with this summer. She's doing Ideal Life Vision workshops with the human design element. And I don't know if you guys have explored that, but whoa, I have loved learning about human design so much in the last few months, but in the last year or so. And human design, you can check that out for yourself. There's an app that I've downloaded and my sweetheart downloaded and told me about called My Human Design. But you can even just go to a website. Gosh, someone might be thinking about me this morning. My nose is itchy. But you can just Google Google human design. And it may or may not be your thing, right? Some of you, it's like the concept of an Enneagram, right? There's various personality typing, testing, or astrology. It's kind of a combination of taking like astrology and your birth time and the Enneagram and variety of things, but it's a little bit insightful. It's very insightful, not a little bit, very insightful, and at least curious of learning different parts of who you are and how you show up. And it's just an insightful tool, right? I wouldn't say that it's quote gospel, but it's a very insightful tool. So I was revisiting my vision and spent a day at her property up in Camas, Utah, beautiful day, and writing out vision of a couple of core areas of life. And it's a powerful, powerful process. Her name is Ann Webb, W-E-B-B. It's called Ideal Life Vision. But the concept is you write your vision as if it's happening in present time, rather than saying language like, I will do X. It's, I am loving X, right? Or this is happening. And it's just a really powerful process. Emma, that you need to change your settings. It's just going to me where you just wrote Ann Webb, Ideal Life Vision. So if you want to change that to everyone, that's great. But Ann Webb, there's no E on the end of her last name, A-N-N, Ann Webb. She's a dear friend of mine. We've been connected for 10 plus years. Well, really closer to like 12 or 13. And she teaches this process. But regardless of, again, whether you go to Moira's book or Ann's workshop, or you listen to this or that, is visiting your vision. And these are simply tools that support you in helping you have vision be this really solid place, North Star in your life. And so it's a great time. So many of you, I'm just curious, if you're going to join in on this with me between now and the end of June, would you say yes in the chat box? I know some of you said that already, but if you want to do that with me, I'm going to be doing that. I'd like to do it in the group that we can be working on this as like a project together. Great time to do it, right? It's just that vibrancy. And again, when you think about your vision board, can I give you a little bit of guidance on that? A couple of things to consider is get clear on how do you want to feel, right? Your core feelings, and looking at the various areas of your life, personally, spiritually, financially, your health, your energy, your relationships, right? Your purpose in the world, like thinking about feelings as well as then habits. I'm a really big fan of effort-based goal setting, being habit-based, the power of that, and thinking about like your self-care habits, right? For those of you that joined me in Glow Up last week, we talked about a lot of various habits, from hydration and being top heavy in the morning to Amberly Lago's session on exercise snacks and moving your body regularly, and aligning your gut health to your skincare, to your meditation and mindset practices, to sleep, and all of these great practices. Several of my self-care habits are represented already on my vision board. And so visiting that. For those of you that weren't part of the Glow Up series and you want access to those recordings, simply go to tiffanyspeaks.com. If you want to write this down, tiffanyspeaks.com/glow bundle. And you can own all 7 of those sessions for life for $69. So you can access those tools there if you want them. But back to your vision board, again, it's how do I want to feel? Who do I need to be? What do I want to create? Those core habits, right? Visions of desires, from things on your bucket list to habits, to purpose, to anchoring to your home. It's just a really good, again, consider it North Star of leading you of who you want to be and what you want to create. I love having a vision board. I love Ideal Life Vision. I love Moira's book. However, I'm just sharing with you some tools. The important principle, though, is that you have vision in your life and where you're going and what you want to create and what you want to be about and experience. And it's a great North Star, right? That leads you regularly back to more intentional consciousness around what you're working on. So let's transition into some sharing today. If you have a question that you'd like to share or like some support around, I'd love for you to pop your hand up and even come on live. Emma can promote you to a panelist so we can see you. And if you don't want to come on camera, or you just want to poke a question in the chat box, feel free to do that. But this is your time. The rest of our time together today is what's up for you? How can I best support you? And whether that's, hey, I want to grow things, I want to see my social media expand, or I want to launch a podcast, or how do I get someone off my chicken list to, I'm wanting to create a greater team harmony or community, whatever might be up for you. But this is the time where if you'd like to ask a question or you'd like some support, if you want to place that again in the chat box or raise your hand, I'd love to support you. I know for some of you that might feel a little nervous, like, ooh, I'm a little nervous to put myself out there. Don't be nervous. Often what you may not realize is the very question that you have has a universal application to the other beautiful humans that are here or will listen to this, and that they can benefit that as well. Okay, Becky, I'm just going to acknowledge this quickly as we're waiting for other questions. Becky, hi love, says, I have trouble with vision boards because I struggle with dreaming, right? Anyone else struggle with dreaming sometimes? She then goes on to say, I love the idea of putting things from the joy list on there. Exactly. I also just created an identity statement. I love that. You are beloved, right? And great things to put on your vision board. Yes. Thanks for the inspiration. You're welcome. But yeah, so I think about when it comes to vision boards, I think, again, it's a good combination to have dreams, desires, things off your joy list. So that might be a picture of the mountains. Maybe you really love to go camping, right? Or hiking or things like that. That might be your thing. Or maybe you have a dream to, visit Ireland and you put a picture of Ireland on your vision board. And then many of those things, again, like can be your habits, like several of the things that are on my vision board. Not all of them there, but some of them are habit-based, right? So like when Marina says, I've done many vision boards, but most of it's not happening. I'm going to invite you to have a combination there of, yes, those bigger dreams, like pie in the sky, big dreams, and habits or images of habits that help you, or intention or statements of who you're going to be and how you're showing up, because that is what you can control, right? Like for me in my life and business, I can't control when a sale happens, neither can you, but you can control how you show up. So I'm going to have habits on there, for instance, my self-care habits, and I can absolutely control those. Or I'm going to have habits on there of how much content or podcasting I'm going to be putting out in the world and the value I'm going to be sharing, or how many people I'm going to be nourishing on a regular basis, or the heartbeat of why I'm in business, right? That'd be a great thing to put on your vision board. Why do you do doTERRA? I want to help more people be healthier and happier and more empowered in their life. And I love to help people do that. And that's something you could practice every single day, is helping other people be empowered. So thank you for sharing that. Because I love real talk, right? Is sometimes are the things I've put on my vision board that haven't happened 100%, right? But a lot of it has happened or is in happening or it's in process because there are ways of practice and practicing that I'm showing up. So I like to make it a combination of the two. But I will tell you, I've had several things on my vision board that have come to fruition that even if I haven't looked at it for, a few months and all of a sudden an experience has happened, it's just fascinating over the years. I had one years back, I'd cut out this image of like 3 pools overlooking the ocean. And I didn't necessarily know where it was, but I cut it out of a magazine and it was on my vision board. This is back in like 2000, I'd say 2009 or 2010, somewhere in that time frame. And it just inspired travel for me and going to the ocean and being at a beautiful resort. It was on my vision board. A couple of months later, one of my best girlfriends, and this is when my very first year of growing my business, resources were tight, right? I mean, it was this total bootstrapping. This is back in 2010, end of 2009, first of 2010, and bootstrapping that business and so forth. And I had a girlfriend in California who said, I really want to hire you for some coaching, but she'd become like a best girlfriend, like truly like a bestie. And I was like, well, and we had this women's trip, girls trip coming up with Jack Canfield, some people connected from that community up in Santa Barbara. And I said, instead of paying me for coaching, what if you just take care of my airfare? And she was like, perfect, done. So she flew me out to California and she booked our hotel for the night up in Santa Barbara. And literally, you guys, I'm not kidding you, as we pulled up to the resort, and I remember she said, well, for the one night that we stay up there, and then we were staying back in her home in Manhattan Beach, she said, the night that we stay up there, I just thought we'd splurge. And I booked us a room at this really nice place called Bacara. And it's such a dreamy spot. I'm excited for you to experience it. And I was like, great, cool. So we land, I fly into LA, she picks me up and we drive up to Santa Barbara. And as we're pulling into the resort, I just have this feeling and I'm like, this feels oddly familiar. My girlfriend, Cindy, had not seen my vision board. She didn't know it was on my vision board, but literally as we checked in at the lobby and walk out into, the back end and open it up, there are 3 pools overlooking the Pacific Ocean. It's the exact image like 7 months earlier I'd put on my vision board. Again, as representation of a desire, here I was staying at that resort that someone else had booked for me. It was one of those, yes, Laura's saying I'm getting goosebumps. Yes, it's one of those things. On my podcast a while back, this is probably 2 years ago, so you can search this on my website, tiffanyspeaks.com, or go back through Spotify or iTunes. And there's a session in there with a gentleman named John Asseroff. And we're talking about the power of mindset or mindset and visioning. And he was featured on a movie called The Secret. Many of you have probably heard of or seen it. And he's written also in Jack Canfield's book, The Success Principles, around the power of vision boards. And he shares one of the most epic vision board stories I've ever heard and his dream home experience, how he'd literally cut out an image from Dream Home magazine. There's such a magazine called Dream Home magazine. And he cut out an image from it and put on his vision board. And then this is when he was living in Canada. And then he had a transition time and he was heavily involved in real estate. He had his vision boards packed up for a few years. And then as he moved into his new home, they were in different boxes. And his little 4 or 5-year-old son says, what is in, Daddy, what's this? And opening up his boxes with him in his office. And he goes, oh, son, those are my vision boards. And he goes, what's a vision board? And, it's a 5-year-old and he's explaining, well, these are images of things Daddy wants to create and experience. And they start looking through, and he had like 2 or 3 vision boards and that represented different parts of his life. And he's looking through the one, kind of smiling and seeing the nice watch that he'd, wanted and how, and some of these things in his career. And then he literally pulls out a vision board and he starts bawling because he literally was in the office space in the home that he had put on a vision board like 3 years earlier, hadn't seen. And it wasn't a home like it, but he was literally living in the exact house. Fascinating. Now, again, you guys, I realize I don't always go down like this. I think it's valuable. Can I tell you a sweetheart one really quick? Can we just keep riffing on vision boards for a minute? On this vision board right here in this top corner, that's an image, loves. Next to it is a beautiful diamond ring. Right here, this image in the top corner, and I just loved it. I found it on Pinterest years ago, and it just communicates such love and connection, sweetness, and growth all at the same time. And this image right here is a gentleman and a woman kind of snuggled up together, and he's reading a book to her. And I just thought that represented relationships so beautifully. They're deeply connected. They're comfortable together. They're snuggling and cuddling. And I'm a cuddle bug, but he's reading to her. And so they're sharing reading and growth together of some kind. I put that on my vision board years ago, right? So again, some of these things have been here for years and it's needing a refreshing experience. It has been refreshed over the years, but that one's been there for years. And again, I don't stand in front of it every day. I should, probably could. But it's just here. It just at times I'll sit and I'll look at it and work with it. Well, I started dating Brett in 2020. And there was a book that really became near and dear to our hearts. I introduced it to him. It's a favorite book of mine. A gentleman named Mark Nepo has written this book called The Book of Awakening. Do any of you have that book in your library or in part of your daily devotional book? And it's a daily, similar to like my devotional book, with Jesus Calling, is a book where you can read every single day, and Mark is just one of the most phenomenal writers, I think, of all time. I've now spent time with him in various spots, and he's just become near and dear to me. And I love his work. He's written like 25 books. He's been on the Oprah show, best-selling list. I mean, he's just a phenomenal writer and poet and just teacher of the heart. And so Brett and I had this book, and that really kind of just became close to us. And then he loves to read. He's a big reader as well. And I like to read, or Audible for both of us. And so a couple months into dating of him, I realized there'd been a handful of times where we had been kind of snuggled up and he'd been reading to me. Or obviously, as we were dating, there were times he would in the morning read me a little bit from this book as like a good morning, sweetheart. How's your day? And then he'd send me the day's reading when we weren't, obviously together, which was a lot because, you're dating and he lives there and I live here and so forth. And it was just this really sweet part of our connection. And probably 5-6 months later, I come and I'm looking at my vision board and I see that image and I realize how many times that's been happening as part of our relationship and part of our connection. And so anyway, I wasn't planning on sharing any of that with you guys, but it represents, right, the power of that intention and what you want to create. And so coming home to your own vision, whatever you needed to take from that, whether you want to write it out, you want to pray it, speak it, you want to image it, is again, some of the things on my vision board, you can see are words, right? They're quotes, they're ideas, they're intentions. Some are self-care, some are personal dream homes, right? Over on this side over here is more my work in the world, how I want to show up, what I want to create. Some things have already happened, some things haven't yet. But many of those things, again, are attributes or they're feelings or experiences I want to personally cultivate. So yeah, you just never know what you're going to create, how it comes to be. All right. I think our girl Maria has a question if you want to pop your hand up. But yes, one thing Becky said that I love is think about things off your joy list and put those things off your joy list on your vision board. That's a really great idea. But Miss Maria, if you want to come on live, Emma, if you will promote her to panelist. So if you just go to her name and then click on the more button and then click promote to panelist, it'll give her that option. And if anyone wants to get in the queue behind her, please do so. And whether you want to talk through something business-wise, social media-wise, team-wise, sales-wise, whatever's up for you, any and all of it's welcome. We'll drop into some coaching to support you guys today.
Hello.
Hi.
I don't know how to get on my video on here. Okay. I really honestly didn't know I raised my hand, but how are you today?
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. It just says you've got a heart and your hand raised. Maybe you were saying, yes, you're going to create your vision board. So maybe that
Yeah.
is, you just opted and got you. Okay. I thought it had the cute little emoji of raising your hand of like, hey, I'd like some support. So if
Actually,
you have something you want to share, great. If not, no worries one bit.
yeah. Well, I actually did have like, honestly, a heavier thing happen this week. Um, so a friend of mine passed away from cancer.
Mm,
And so I know in the past you shared like things like heavy had happened in life and but you have these goals and visions and dreams. And thank you so much, by the way. I didn't get in on your whole glow last week, but Ashley Miller and the emotions, just returning to that as a way to process and release. But I guess the question is, I know you have to go through things that like to really feel them, but also like you want to stay on track because you have others around you that you love and want to support.
mm-hmm,
Yeah, like so best practices, I guess, for that balance is the self-care. But
mm-hmm.
sometimes I feel like I could, really be in self-care mode quite a bit. And so finding that balance of, taking action towards my goals versus just trying to like feel good to get there. Maybe that's a
Yeah.
question.
Well, first of all, I'm so sorry for your loss, honey. I mean, part of this human thing sometimes is so messy and so painful, right? I mean, I love this humanness is so gorgeous and beautiful and exquisite, and it's messy and it's painful, all wrapped in one human experience.
True.
Again, the gentleman I was just saying, I really believe he's one of the most amazing authors, Mark Nepo, Nepo. He has a book called The One Life We're Given. Oh my gosh, that book just had such an impact. You might love that. Or again, his book, The Book of Awakening. It's just like he just like peers into the human heart and writes from the heart. And it's so good and so powerful. And he might be a great author for you to pick up this summer.
Thank you.
But I think, again, love it's this balance of when we're dealing with loss and we're dealing with tough emotions and struggles and fears, and we're concerned about our child or our marriage, or we're feeling discouraged, or all the things in the midst of also, I have goals and dreams. And I also have, things I'm working on. And so when loss is really fresh and poignant, and it's like there, and that grief, of course, a lot of self-soothing and self-care. And I think it's okay. How many of you can relate to what Maria said is, I feel like I can get lost in self-care at times, or I feel like I could spend tons of time there. And sometimes that is exactly what we need, right? There are seasons, days, weeks, moments where it's like we need more self-care. We need more of the rest. We need more of the quiet or the reading or the massage or the therapy, the things that we need to nourish ourselves for sure. And so tuning into that, Maria, one of my favorite questions of all time is, what do you need, sweetheart?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And when you're in tune with that, because there's times I have become aware for me, there are times self-care is really for self-care and nourishing myself. And there's times my quote, self-care is numbing out / avoidance of really doing the work, making the calls, sitting down, creating. Right. And so for me, when I'm tuned in, what do you need, sweetheart? And if it's like, I just need some time in nature. Okay, let's do that. Or I
Mm-hmm.
need to rest, or I want to read, or I need a nap, or I need a technology break, or I need to connect with someone I love, or I'm feeling lonely, or whatever's up for me. I'm tuning into that. And that can really be my North Star. What do you need, sweetheart, is the question. And so when you think about that, you go, and you drop into, but allowing yourself the space and just asking your tender self today, what do I need, sweetheart? And you go, okay. And honoring that is, it doesn't mean you'll lose all the steam and the momentum you've been gaining in your business. And like, sometimes we're afraid, like, if I'm not on all the time, will I lose it? It's just dropping in. And again, I'm a big believer of prayer and the power of prayer, and praying for help and praying for support and praying for healing. And sometimes my prayer is just, God, will you hold me for a little bit? Sometimes that's my prayer. And if that works for you guys, utilize it.
Well, thank you.
It's just dropping into that. It's like, when we lose someone we really love, like that's going to impact us for sure.
Yeah. And I guess the second part of the same question I thought about was, now you mentioned action-based goals, and I love that. So because it feels like you can write, like, I'm going to reach out to 5 people today. And when you did that. Because sometimes being a self-employed entrepreneur, you might have those bigger goals, and then you don't ever feel like you've accomplished what you need. And you always feel like you have to be on, like you just said.
Mhm.
So, yeah, that's really helpful. That advice as well. So thank you for that today.
You're welcome. I'm sending you so much love. And of course, I know you're heavily tuned into essential emotions, and I would look at what various oils to support you that would help, to put on your body or diffuse or help support you, I think is very valuable. I love Cindy's quote in the chat box. Her share too is that she lost her husband in 2021. Cindy, we love you. And she said, one thing I learned is just to give yourself time to just be, and it's okay to get lost. You'll find your way bit by bit. But permission to grieve, right? Like permission to feel the feels and feel the feelings. And then some days and moments you're like, okay, I'm really ready to get after things. And then some moments you're like, I just need to cry, or I need some support. And giving yourself, again, regularly tuning in what you need, sweetheart, I think is a great check-in that can help keep you in that space of like, okay, I'm grieving, and I'm still working on perhaps when the timing's aligned of the things that do inspire me or bring me back into service or purpose.
Yeah. And I echo the essential emotions. That has been huge. And this experience, I'm putting it out there to like friends. I haven't gone to my friend's family and husband, although I have shared oils with this particular friend. In April, we did I had a spa demo here at my home, but she actually was the only one who came. And I just thank God for that time with her. And we went through the book, and some of the feelings she was having, I was able to give her some oils and declarations, affirmations. So I would completely encourage everyone to check out Essential Emotions.
Yeah, Essential Emotions, so great, such a great resource, and coming home to and using those oils and those tools to support us. So anyway, maybe you were meant to say hello. I just saw your emoji as your hand being raised up. So we're sending you lots of love as you work through the reality of some of those transitions and that grief.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, who's next today? Who else has something you'd like to share or want some support or strategy around? Anyone? We can also end early today, but I am here to help support you or coach or work through things. If there's something you'd like support around, great. If not, we can definitely wrap early. I'll leave that open for about 60 more seconds and see if anyone drops a question in the chat box or raises their hand. Okay, if you can promote Ruth to panelist, we'll pop her back up. So Emma, if you want to pop her on, that'd be great. Hi, love.
Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Nice to see you.
Thank you so much. You as well. Thanks for all of you talk about wanting to always add value in what you do, and you do so much value, so much good. So thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome.
Okay, run in. I was out doing a little walk this morning with my daughter while we were talking about vision boards, and the other day I was texting my accountability partner from Success Academy, and just
Oh,
realizing I have a little resistance to really do the vision board. But when you were talking about it, I felt like, yeah, this is the time I'm going to work on it again. But as we continued to talk, I just realized, wow, in Success Academy, one of the pictures that I had that our team had already done a visioning thing was a picture of Jerusalem. And my husband is an ancient studies guy, and we met in Jerusalem actually, but we want to go back there. But as we were talking, I realized, oh, wow, some of my siblings are going. I have a trip scheduled, and I hadn't made the connection.
my
So that was so
goodness.
awesome. Such a beautiful thing.
When are you going?
October.
So beautiful. That's on my bucket list too. So I'm so glad you're doing that.
Thank you. What a great power of vision. And it's already been in the comments, but sometimes I do, maybe, I don't know, maybe it's a worthiness thing. I'm not really sure, but it is sometimes hard for me to vision, to dream, to really feel like, I don't know, just to get out there and think yeah, to dare to dream and to dream big and play big. And I know
Mhm.
you have helped so many people through that. So I'm just wondering if you have any other gems to share with me or the whole group about opening up to those possibilities in a more real way, and then feeling worthwhile and able to really to claim that or believe that
Mhm.
we deserve it, that I
Mhm.
can tap into that. And I believe I'm a daughter of God. I believe I have this value, but there's also a disconnect with to what level I really believe that.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the real talk, Ruth, because I think we can all relate to that. There's a book I highly recommend called The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles. The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles. What a great name. Wattles. It's an old book. A lot of The Secret, the movie The Secret, the book The Secret was heavily influenced by that book, written in the beginning of the 1900s or early 1900s. But a lot of that, what I love about that book is it's a lot of why God would want me or want you to be rich. And rich in lots of ways. Because sometimes I think the challenge when we struggle to dream or we struggle to really expand into thrive or abundance, and that doesn't always mean like flashy cars, flashy clothes, or these massive mansions, right? I mean, it's to each their own, but is having the thrive of abundance in our lives. I think sometimes the challenge is like, gosh, we let out today talking heavily about gratitude. And it's like, the awareness that you can have gratitude and desire at the same time, where we can be grateful for the home we live in and that we have clean water and that we have access, to health and healthcare and wellness and, a variety of things we can feel grateful for. But the reality of just saying, gosh, tuning into that we can also have deep desire and allowing ourselves to dream. And many of us weren't probably raised in environments where our parents were modeling that for us. So many of you are the pioneer in your family line to really be a dreamer, to really be the creator and changing and creating perhaps generational wealth for the first time, right? In your family line and really modeling for your kids, dreaming and growing and possibility and permission and that it's okay to dream and not just okay. Wow. I believe divinely, like the power of dreaming and the power of creation is helping us be more godlike. And so it's so powerful, right? When we think about you're expansioning your godlike attributes when you're in creation, when you're in dreaming, when you're in visualization, and when you're in the magnification or the moving forward of that and practicing those skills and practicing, those creative principles. And so I hear you and feel you. I would just start tuning in on a more daily basis to preferences. What would please me? What's a desire? What's this and that? And some people get hung up feeling like, well, isn't that selfish? Because many people who, I'm using interchangeably the words God and desire at the same time. And for some people, that's a real hang up, is like, can you have both, versus realizing, like you said it, so you know it language wise, but really, do you embody it and believe it? Like, I'm a queen. Ruth is a queen. She has royal heritage from a divine. She's the daughter of a king, right? When you think of that, and it's like, wow. And again, it's not always about bigger, better, faster, flashier, but it is about expansion. And that's the word I'd invite you to start anchoring more into, is expansion of light, of your dreams, of your creation powers, and expansion of your stewardship, right? Because the more you're like, I'm dreaming and expanding, and my I'm teaching and modeling creation for my children, and then their children and their children. And I'm expanding my capacity, that if there are people or groups or causes I want to support, I have the means to do that. And so it's giving yourself that permission, but practicing that, right? Is like, from your joy list to desires, pleasures of like, oh yes, this and that. And we're just practicing expansion and dropping into that. As you're already a powerful creator, we're just practicing expanding that. And sometimes when we've already achieved like the certain level of comfort, and we're super grateful for it, it's just the permission that gratitude and desire can coexist simultaneously. And again, I think the book, The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles, is one of the best books on understanding why giving space and nourishment to our desires is actually a divine process. Yeah. So good.
That's so helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for asking that. And I do invite you guys, some of you I'm seeing in the chat box, getting connected or hooked up to be accountability buddies. I think that's so powerful, is to have that kind of support. And Ruth was connected. She went through my Success Academy coaching program. My next version of that will be October 2nd. So it's a little ways away. But if that's something you want to explore, and part of the program is someone else in the program you get linked up to if you want to, with an accountability buddy while you're going through the course. And then clearly she wrapped that a while ago, and they're still in connection and supporting each other. So I love that you went through that. And I love that you two are still connecting. And just again, it's permission. And I think, did you also say that you're going to work on your vision board between now and end of June with me?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah. So I love that we'll be co-creating. And if you have anything else you want to reach out, or I want to see a photo of this, send it to me. I do my own social media, my DMs on Instagram or Facebook. I'd love to see it. So if you want to send it to me.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Good to see your face. Okay, Stephanie Haslam, you are in the Q&A box. Steph, are you welcome or open to coming on live and doing some live coaching? You want to just say that yes or no in the chat box. As you put that in the Q&A, which are great questions, I'd love to dialogue through them though live if you want to join me. She's still on. Okay, I'm getting thumbs up. All right. So Emma, can you promote Stephanie Haslam to a panelist? Okay. You see how to do that, Emma? I can also do that too. All right. Let's see. Okay, there she is.
Good morning.
Good morning. Do you want to talk through what your questions are this morning around objections and or the fear or challenges with rejection?
Well, I guess there's subconsciously and maybe even sometimes consciously an expectation for rejection. And also, you know, in this business, you just tend to get people saying no a lot. And so I guess I'm just trying to figure out how to overcome or how to get a better mindset about it, and also how to talk through things with people to get a better outcome.
Mhm. Do you have kind of a marketing strategy in place of how you connect, nourish, sample someone? Or is it just kind of off the cuff, or how are you currently, what, do you have a process in place?
Well, I try to use pipes. So I try to, you know, make contact, invite them to something. I have the best luck with people who I've been able to invite to something, and then, you know, they get to be taught and sampled, and then, you know, following up with them that way. But you know, not always getting the result I want, you know.
Yeah.
Like when they just want to enroll with a bottle of lemon oil.
Mhm. But
It's like,
sometimes those folks go
okay,
diamond. So I know a woman that was her first enrollment. She bought one bottle of lemon and ended up going diamond. So I understand though. It's like, I want them to buy the whole kit and I want the thing and the this. Realizing there's a process I teach in Success Academy, a full training on having a sales funnel. It's an entire module. And it's similar to pipes, but it has maybe its own flavor to this. Is again, you were regularly nourishing people and meeting them where they're at. And so I think, but foundationally love what you're bringing up is so common. And it's like, oh, objections or rejection, it's hard. And there's both a conversation around the mindset of that. And then also I'm jumping right in though to strategic skill, and we'll cover both. But the skill of that is like, if I'm regularly nourishing people and offering things like last week, I did an entire series for free. It was like $1,000 offering for free called the Glow Up series. Totally free. Now that's part of my funnel though, is I had probably 30% of people there were first timers to me. First time someone invited them, they shared, but you all need in your sales funnel. Do you guys want to see the sales funnel? I'll pull it up out of my workbook if you want to see it. Would that be
Yes.
valuable?
Yes, let's see it.
Okay, give me 1 second. It'll take just 1 sec, Steph. And Steph, we're going to talk about this too, the emotional side of that, because sometimes we just get discouraged, right?
Yeah. And I'm trying not to, you know, probably sometimes the worst rejection is when they don't respond at all.
Right. They just
And
ghost.
I'm trying not to make up my own idea of why they're not
Mhm.
responding, because a lot of times it's not what you think.
Right.
Like it's
So-
not a negative thing. Sometimes it is like they just don't have the heart to say, you know, I'm really not interested. But some people
Right.
will say that, actually appreciate their honesty, but then
Mhm.
some people just won't answer. And so I'm like, okay, am I harassing them when I'm inviting them? When they don't say, okay, I'm just busy right now, and they don't respond,
Mhm.
I, you know, have a hard
Mhm.
time knowing whether I'm harassing them or whether I should keep trying.
Mhm. Amen to that. And so let's talk about that first. Is first and foremost is we want to have deep, deep purpose of we're showing up to serve, and there's joy in this. And it's always about them. And whether they say yes, great. If they say no, great. It's about them. My role is to show up to serve. And I know that's easier to say than always feel or live, because I can get discouraged too. But a lot of times, I want you to write this for me, not right now in the moment. I want you to stay present, but I do want you to go write this down and put it on a Post-it note in your office or somewhere you'll see regularly. Is the difference between a contact, you're contacting people, and a contract, meaning they become a client, is one letter. And the letter is R, and the letter stands for relationship. So when people aren't moving forward to come to the event, you know, committing to that or committing to buy, oftentimes it just gives you feedback. They need more relationship time. Just like sales and dating, there's a whole lot in common. And a lot of times when people were like, hey, I just met you, do you want to meet my parents and pick out our kids' names? But we really haven't even gone on a first date. It's a little bit premature. Well, the same thing in sales sometimes is we go, oh, hey, do you want to come to this class? Or hey, do you want to buy product? And it's kind of like asking someone to be exclusive when you've just had maybe one date, or you know each other lightly, or maybe you've known each other for a while, but the concept of oils or these health and wellness products are new to them. So a lot of times the feedback isn't they're rejecting you, it's there isn't enough either relationship, nourishment, or awareness just yet that's taking place. And so realizing it, it's like a lot of times in sales, we're asking someone, hey, you want to be my boyfriend? And it's like, I've known you for 10 minutes. It's a little bit soon. And it doesn't mean we also have to date someone and go on 27 dates before we ask them to be our boyfriend or girlfriend, or we, move the relationship forward. I'm not saying that either. But a lot of times when you're in a space where someone's not converting, it's because there's more time and need for trust or relationship awareness. And the reality is some people, yes, truly, they're just not interested. And I with you is I'd rather just be told that than, hey, maybe, or the might come, I'm not sure, and all of that kind of behavior. But often it's just you're needing more time. And we want to nourish that, but managing your mindset on that. But if in your funnel, let me pull up my workbook. Give me 1 second. Can you all see that? Steph, can you nod your head if you can see that?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay. Just so I know you guys can see it. This is Success Academy. And first and foremost, I'm just scrolling quite a bit here, is we want to have, again, the reminder that we're in the people business, right? And we're regularly nourishing relationships. And this is one of the strategies that we talk through in Success Academy. And we come through this specifically is how you're showing up in relationship is foundational. But this is the image of a great sales funnel. The biggest part of anyone's funnel is you have freebies. In other words, how can people sample you? I was at Costco over the weekend. Guess what Costco's doing every day of the week, no matter what day I go? They're sampling people throughout the store. When you step on a car lot and you start looking at cars, they want to get you to test drive that car real fast. You need ways of how can people sample you? Sample literally the product and sample you and your business. Well, like for me, I do my gratitude series every year. Or quarterly, I'm doing some kind of free offering where I'm nourishing my existing funnel and I'm nourishing brand new people, right? So gratitude series is a great freebie. What I did last week, phenomenal freebie, a week of glow up and self-care training with top coaches, myself and other top coaches, right? Great freebie. You just have to give me your email, and then you get the access to the calls and so forth. Or you quarterly, or you guys freebies, girls night in, or guys night in, or whatever. It doesn't have to be labeled with a gender, but is gathering for different things, for classes, for fun, make and takes, come make bath salts, right? Come have a playful thing. And that's exposure, and it's, free, and come have snacks and treats. And then the oils are there as part of either in the recipes, and they're displayed and we're diffusing, or come to a free class. And I get it, but sometimes people aren't going to come to a class, but they'll come to a gathering. And you might do things online, your social media, another freebie, but you're regularly sharing. Like I opened a brand new bottle last night of lavender. If I'm you, I'm going to put lavender in my Instagram stories of like, oh, I'm ready for some restful sleep. I'm not saying, hey, do you want to buy lavender today? But I'm modeling and nourishing regularly free content. My podcast is free. It's not free to me. I pay a producer and I pay systems. But it's a great way I'm growing my funnel is I have regular things that are nourishing, that are free, no risk. And then you have a tier 1. Tier 1 is low. I can't believe we're teaching this for free for you guys today, right? Everyone normally pays $1,000 or more to receive this. So here we go. We're just going to over deliver some value. And then tier 1 is anything from $1 to $100. That's that bottle of lemon, sis. It's low risk. It's a first date. That's what a tier 1 is, or low is a first date. You got to go on a lot of first dates. You may have been married a long time. I just got married 8-9 months ago, and I went on a lot of first dates, a lot of one and dones, one and done, right? Literally. But it's just then you go, okay, but you have again, maybe someone starts with the trio pack, the classic OGs of lavender, peppermint, and lemon, right? Or they try or buy one or two oils. And I know that may not be our ideal, but it's at least to get them started. Or they come to a make and take class that's like make roller bottles and it's $5 to $10 or $20 or something like that. But you have tier 1 offerings. I have lots of those, from digital products to, hey, the golden group, the first of the year, or sales summit, or I'll have mindset makeover in September, which is anyone opting it in, it's under $100. And then you have a medium price point, anything from $100 to $1,000, and anything high price point is $1,000 and above, your everything kit, right? Type of thing. And you have various options, knowing most people are going to purchase in your tier 1 or tier 2. But it's just being aware, loves, that again, I share that from you. That's strategic. I know your question is more emotional, where you're like, I'm feeling snagged and emotional about this. And we're going to talk about that too, and you have tools for that. But we also must, if you're legit saying, I want to grow my business with strategic, and I want to grow my business, there must be strategy. And that's where, again, and again, for some of you, you're going to want to look at Success Academy in October. You can also do a free consult with one of my trained coaches and see if it's right for you. Feel free to reach out to me if that's something you'd like, a free coaching session. Happy to gift you that. And it's not a high pressure sale. They're not in that vibe at all, but they'll ask you really good questions and help you with clarity to what you're wanting to experience. And so again, but coming home to the mindset again, but if people aren't moving forward, you probably need, it's the contact to a contract, is you need more relationship. You need more dating. I'm not ready to meet your parents, or I'm not ready to be exclusive. I'm not ready to give you $100 or $500. I need more time. And that's not meaning you've done anything wrong, but it's just nourishing the relationship. And again, I like to ask a lot of questions as part of my sales process regularly, is how are you feeling? And how's your energy, your sleep? And how are you or your kids? Is there anything up for you health-wise in this season that I could potentially support you with? Right. And you go, oh yeah. And then you're able to meet them where they're at. Or do you have any allergies or things that are up? And, that you're regularly sharing that on social, as well as in your questions and conversations and in classes for sure. But we're coming to it from this perspective, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the emotional side, yes, it's like, I like what Becky's saying is the emotions book is it. I know it's easy for me as your friend and coach to say, you know what, Steph, don't take it personally. It's easier for me to say that, right, than the feelings of that. But truly, if I'm coming from service and I'm also legit, I'm like trying to help someone else progress. And if they're just not saying yes, guess what? Then I'm okay with that. It's like, hey, all I can do is how I show up. And I choose that. And I come home to, for me, prayer regularly, because God is, for me, my CEO and my partner in my business. Guide me to who you want me to serve today, and guide me with this and that. And that mindset really helps me stay out of the weeds. But I also, there's a great book called The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. And agreement number 2 is don't take anything personally. Nothing anyone else does is because of you. We can influence people, but you can't control them. But we come back to is like, ask more questions. What do you need and where you're at? And let me see if I can serve and support you. It's a great way to help you get connected and help have more influence. But the more that you don't take it personally, because some of those people, it's just not their timing yet. Right? Like Ruth, will you share this in the chat box? I'm just curious. Like Ruth, she has been through my coaching program, that medium price point Success Academy. Ruth, how long had you been connected with me or knew of me or been on these calls or other free trainings I'd done before you committed to Success Academy? If Ruth's still on the call, I'm just curious. That'd be very valuable to see. Yeah, Ruth, how long, how much time? As she says in the chat box, several years. Years, Steph, not even months or weeks. And see why I'm telling you guys that is like, oh, okay. Yeah. Jennifer says it's like asking, do you want a piece of gum? Or I'm going to say a piece of chocolate cake. And they say, no, okay. But they know you have the chocolate cake. And when they're craving chocolate cake and when they're ready, But Ruth, it's like Ruth had done several free things with me before she committed. There's a lot that got nourished before she moved forward. So that's why I'm regularly going to keep offering and doing things at free and tier 1 or low risk, because I'm regularly nourishing a funnel that when people are ready for more and saying it's the season for me, I'm doing my part, you do your part, love, then it's when it's the time and they say yes, and that might be weeks later or months later or years later. And then they say, I need that entire kit. I need all those things, or I'm ready for, the essentials or whatever it might be. You just keep showing up, making the offer, and you keep adding the value, and you have things like I just showed you, the imagery of you're offering various things at all times, right? Like I have things going regularly where it's like people can meet me where they're at, but I'm going to regularly keep offering value out and about, because I, one, A, love to do that, and that's nourishing, and B, it's smart business strategy. But I get it emotionally. So drop in, ask yourself right now, put your hand on your heart. What do you need, sweetheart?
What do you need, sweetheart?
And ask. But yes, you're seeing, like Meg saying, I knew you for close to 5 years before joining Success Academy. And thank you, Kim. Can't recommend Success Academy enough. Yes, that business training will pay for itself if you show up and do the work. But I get it. It's dropping in. It's like the emotions, but you will, so that strategy is a game changer. But as you ask yourself, what do you need, love? Like what's coming up for you? What is your tender little heart that feels rejected or hurt? What does she need? And let's give her what she needs.
Well, like you said, speaking with your maker and making more connections to be guided in who you should talk to and who you should serve and how to help people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So honor that. And then come back, being in love with the process. It's like, I genuinely just love helping people. Guess who's not paid to be here today? Me. Guess what I bill, and my hourly rate is $1,000 an hour to join every other team. But I love this team and community. And I show up here for free week in and week out. I don't share that of like, hey guys, just, look. But the reality is like, I genuinely love what I'm doing here with y'all. And that's one of the mantras in my own declaration of creator's oath that says, I add value whether I go, whether I'm paid or not. I always get paid somehow, some way. I mean, there's always an abundance coming in, but it's living into that. It's like having joy when you contact those people and having joy in the experience of nourishing them, loving on them, opening up their eyes to possibilities of, oh my gosh, lavender essential oil, lemon essential oil, peppermint, just that initial trio. We sometimes, because we've been around so many oils for so long, we forget how powerful is one bottle of lemon, lavender, peppermint, and game changing it is, and how natural it is and cleansing it is. You know what I'm saying? And it's just this power, loves, that you go, oh my gosh. Yeah, we're in the business of nourishing, and we love the process of it, whether anyone buys or doesn't buy. It's so good. Thank you for sharing. Does that help at least? I know we may not quote solve it all the way, but it's like, hey, come back to your joy. First, nourish your tender heart. Secondly, come back to the joy and just realize you're playing the long game. Like, I'm going to keep showing up and nourishing. I'm going to show up and add value, and how powerful that is. So yes.
Yeah. Your weekly, you and Andy, your weekly coaching helps so much with the mindset. It kind of, and this helps a lot too. I can't wait to re-listen to it and take a bunch of notes.
Mm-hmm. I'm so glad. Thank you for that, Steph. I'm wishing you a great rest of your day. My loves, I do invite you to come join me. For those of you coming to convention, I am doing a pre-convention event called Nourish on September 12th, where we'll be doing more of this. I'll have my flip chart out. We'll get into sales funneling, where we're going to nourish you and your heart, and then we're going to nourish your business. But we're going to talk strategy. I coach many 7- and 6-figure performers in multiple companies. And there's certain strategies that we rinse and repeat in any company, whether it's doTERRA or several others we could rattle off. I'd love for you to be there. My event link is myoilscoach.com. Early bird pricing expires after July 1st, so you'll want to get in on one of those tickets. I haven't promoted it yet publicly anywhere but here. And so just know you guys get first dibs on those tickets. As soon as we put that out on my social or my email list, those tickets will be gone in 24 hours. So if that's something you want, I'm going to invite you to get a ticket. Again, it's myoilscoach.com. You'll be well nourished. I have a private chef on site, fun swag, and then we're going to go rich into strategy that we started to touch on here today, that at a fraction of the cost, we'll go into some of those business coaching practices where it's like, oh, that's right. If I want to see this grow as a business and I want the income, there's certain funnels and strategies that need to be in place for you. So that is coming up September 12th, right before your convention. And again, the website there is myoilscoach.com, and look forward to seeing you there in person for those of you that are coming out live to that. We've gone way over on time, but that's okay. I wanted to add some extra value. I do need to wrap up and prepare for my next coaching session coming up. Steph, thank you for that. If you had a question you didn't get asked or addressed today, because then I know several of you started popping in the queue, please put that in a pin in it and bring it next Wednesday. I'll be back here with you guys next Wednesday. We'll drop right into some of that coaching. So looking forward to, creating with you. I love being in this community with you all. You guys keep nourishing yourselves, nourish your own hearts, and please keep nourishing the people in your business and in your lives and your network. Be the kind of person that shows up to add value just because you love adding value. That in of itself, that energy loves is going to attract so much to you. But you guys are part of such great products, such a great company. I love my essential oils. I love my Glow Blend. I love my MetaPower. I love diffusing my oils throughout my home, all those high vibe scents. Like, I'm so grateful for this. And just think you can give people a little bit of that taste of like, oh my gosh, even if they order one oil, like how powerful that is, that you're upping their self-care game in such a legit big way. So powerful. Welcome, Laura. I'm so glad you're here. She says it's her first call with us. So glad. She's also over in Europe and she'd love to stay connected. Please come back. We'll be back here next week at the same time. Love you guys. Have a great rest of your week. If I can support you additionally, reach out in my DMs or Messenger. Happy to support you. Emma, thanks for being a great co-pilot, and I'll see you guys next Wednesday. Thanks, everyone.